Hi, so today our group is going to talk a little bit about Apple. Next slide. Apple and ethics. Apple claims that they conduct all business matters and decisions in an ethical, honest, and in full compliance of the law, as well as highlighting several different business conduct policies, ensuring their focus on being ethically right in their business practices. However, in the past years, and even now, Apple has been under heavy fire and even accused of being involved in unethical business practices, such as environmental destruction, anti-competitive behaviors, misuse of labor, and more. One major example of Apple being involved in unethical behavior is of Apple and their largest and oldest supplier, Foxconn. Over the past decade, Foxconn has been known to overexploit their workers and have poor working conditions, whilst Apple, in turn, has been under scrutiny for continuing to work alongside the supplier and enjoying the benefits of low-costing labor at the expense of overly worked and overly exploited production workers in their overseas factories. There were even cases of child labor, where students were hired under the guise of internships and told to work over the legal hours given. To combat these ethical issues that Apple is facing in China and their suppliers, Apple is now releasing yearly reports on its production facilities and suppliers to track any cases of child labor, seeing if materials are being ethically sourced, and the amount of labor hours. Furthermore, they also are instilling 60-hour work week limits and voluntary overtime.
Viral marketing. So as we all know, Apple is a very, very brand and a very takes a big part of the tech space, and it's not very hard for Apple to go viral. But techniques and strategies that they use to go viral, of course, are gossip and buzz marketing. Here is when you start to hear rumors and things that spread along and from one messenger to another person, and then just keeps going, just like a high school gossip thing. Similar to pass along, rumors about updates and phones start to go out, and this is how they spread the news and spread awareness for what's going on about Apple. And we see an example of this when one of the new releases of the iPhone starts to die down. We already see news and rumors of how the new iPhone will start to look and their features and design mainly. But another thing that goes viral a lot of times is how Apple announcements hooks us. Of course, they start hooking us with their social status and how it may improve our social status. They may put out teasers of what the new phone may look like, what it may have. They just give us and make us find new values and needs of the new iPhone. Of course, that will lead into the importance of the iPhone and what the specs are after telling us a story and benefits of why we need their iPhone. It's just a crazy way for them to market and make viral of their new products. And it's just the way it's formed and finalized to present new content is just huge for the tech space within which spreads the word. And with such an event, it's spreads the word really easily, and which goes viral easily. Next slide, please. In terms of how Apple uses the types of marketing opportunities, the 4 types of marketing opportunities to be exact: marketing penetration, marketing development, product development, and diversification. First, the market penetration. Apple continues to sell to a demographic in which cares for social status, like I mentioned before, and existing consumers. Those consumers being younger kids, the younger generation who have iPads or iPods, who are moving into iPhones near in the future, since they already use the Apple products. Apple has already reached worldwide in terms of marketing development, reaching overseas and going all over the world with their different products. So that's very easy for Apple to say. Product development, design of the iPhone were brought back. Many years back, there was the curvature on the iPhone. Now there's a rectangular iPhone, which makes it look for a sharp design. In terms of diversification, going in back to 2016, Apple went out to bring out AirPods, going into the realm of earbuds, Bluetooth ones especially, and making them popularized into that later 2017, moving into smartwatches and Apple TV, just going into different market shares and thriving in them are just great for Apple, which is why they're going into different things and rumors for eyewear in the future. Next slide.
Talking about outsourcing, Foxconn can be said the factory behind the Apple. Compared with Foxconn in 2010, will the treatment of Foxconn today be different? At present, Foxconn still has unpaid overtime, but as the law becomes stricter, such things become less and less. Foxconn's work is seasonal factory, which sometimes need a lot of workers but not in the off-season. However, according to the China's labor law, layoff must be compensated. Foxconn will be only take other ways to induce workers to leave voluntarily. In 2021, the wage of Foxconn workers were only the minimum standard required by law. But the opposite is overtime hours are the maximum standard every month. Workers often joke that they get the lowest wage but use the most expensive score. China is not only a mass market for Apple, but also the locate of itself most influential supply chain. Since the trade war between the United States and China in 2018, Apple also tried hard to avoid this political risk. So Foxconn will generally transfer its factories to India and Vietnam in 2020. However, due to the panic, Foxconn had to go back to China for manufacturing. Next slide, please.
Let's talk about what Apple considers before FDI. The investment done by a native company into a foreign company is called FDI, or foreign direct investment. Before the interest built by a company to invest in another company across the boundaries, these factors shown should be taken into consideration. To conclude, the investment made between different companies and countries is huge by the Apple industry, but as it said, with huge risk comes with huge profit, by which to enjoy the huge profit, the company needs to work on the basis, which means it needs to have detailed research and analysis to make its investment by which the money is multiplied. The similarities between the total quality management and Apple. Apple has still not adopted the concepts of the total quality management by its book, but however, Apple is seen to follow certain steps from the book. With the help of this process, Apple is able to keep the workers happy and loyal to the company, as well as it is keeping all the shareholders and trust together across the globe. Apple's management philosophy is equivalent to that of the total quality management. These 5 steps for connecting an organization's procedure to the need of its consumers are also used by Apple with modern techniques. For example, Apple doesn't perform typical customer research like focus groups or surveys, but that doesn't mean that they don't want feedbacks or value their customers. Rather, Apple observes their users' behavior and interactions with their product at Apple Store and hence create the best design for their customers.
Sorry about that. But yeah, let's go into tariffs and subsidiaries. Basically, with tariffs, the only thing that we could really find was that in 2019, 2020, various Apple products, including the Apple Watch, AirPods, and basically the computers and HomePods, they were all being tariffed from 7.5 to 25% because of the trade war between China and basically America. Though it was eventually wavered and basically gotten rid of because they were an American company bringing in Chinese goods. With subsidiaries, the total amount in history is close to $1,750,000,000 from the local government and the state governments themselves. Next slide. With the 6 E's, what we found was that basically for political, the Russian-Ukraine war fits perfectly into it because the Ukrainian government actually recommended Apple to stop selling their products in Russia itself, and then they actually did that. And with the threat of China on the rise, they will eventually have to find new location to move their product to. For the economy, we found out that Apple's plans to actually give back to the economy, basically giving us more jobs, and basically also giving into American investments. For the social cultural, we actually found out that the dependent on technology is slowly growing further and further, because now there's more technology basically to actually help us with drones and basically robots now to actually make our lives so much easier that basically our dependence on them is going even further than we could ever imagine. With technology, we found out that Apple is creating AR glasses, and this actually implies in the future we will actually no longer need computers. We will actually have these glasses that have real world aspects and virtual aspects displayed on the glasses themselves. So we can actually work in the real world. We can see plans of architecture before they're even made. Teachers can have like the schedule on their glasses while they're teaching. It would make our lives so much easier. Geography, we found out basically that a lot of the Apple products are more commonly found in first world and second world countries instead of the third world countries, because third world countries, they basically are seen as luxury products and basically not a lot of people can afford them. So they would more have their local brands with them because they're more affordable. With the weather, we found out that there's more hypotheticals than anything, because the weather, they have to plan out what would happen in a natural disaster. Like what if one of the Foxconn factories was basically struck by an earthquake? They would actually have to basically find a way to move all of those products to a different facility. Okay, next.
Apple has many collaborative relationships since, as they say on their website, great partners bring great possibility. Accenture, Deloitte, and IBM assist Apple with simplifying backend system integration, originating mobile strategies, and creating groundbreaking apps. Salesforce and SAP help Apple enable better business operations and create outstanding consumer and employee experiences using off-the-shelf apps or custom apps built with iOS SDKs. Cisco is looking into technologies that will enable Apple to connect to its networks more easily, cooperate more effectively, and improve the performance of business-critical apps. Next slide, please. Being a multinational company with hundreds of suppliers around the world, Apple encounters a lot of situations in which the slightest change in exchange and currency rates leaves a huge impact on companies' estimated costs and revenues. According to Reuters.com, back in the beginning of 2019, Apple had to reset some iPhone prices outside of the United States after witnessing its first ever dip in iPhone sales during the key holiday shopping period to compensate for the strong value of US dollar. In this move, which was done for only the second time in the device's 12-year history, Apple had to keep iPhone prices at or close to their former values in those countries' currencies a year before. Thank you for watching our presentation, everyone. Have a good day.